This is a Mario 2 Thumbs Up film.
Everybody for coming out to the book signing. I appreciate the support. Right now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, about the book. If you had any questions, anytime, throw your hand up, I'll go out. Questions, the answers, whatever you come up with. This is my second book. This is my first urban fiction novel. First book was engaged in a conversation about black love and relationship. It was more of a self-evaluation of relationships and what we can do to better our personal relationship. I was on a book tour with a friend of mine named Hill. She had a book named Possessions. It's based in Cleveland. It's really inspirational for me to write the book that I have right now. It's a urban fiction as well. It was based in Cleveland, which really caught my attention. And it made me really want to write something different. So I challenged myself to write the book. When I wrote the book, I was thinking I wanted to do something that I have never seen before. I read a few books. They all seem one track. They all seem all about hustling, or all about love, or all about horror, or whatever. I want to incorporate everything that everybody likes. So something that will hold your attention. You got love making, you got hustling, you got suspense, you got twist in the end. You have everything in there. So I really took my time when I started writing the book. The process was tedious. Created the outline. I created the characters first. I wrote the last chapter first because I knew how I wanted the book to end. So it was definitely different of writing the last chapter and then writing into it. I had a lot of twists and turns to the story. But one thing, a lot of people don't know, when you write, the story changes in your head. I lost this book 3 times. Really? Took a USB, got stolen from work, I had to start over. My computer crashed, I had to start over. And another USB got corrupted, so I had to start over. So it's been a tedious 3-year process of creating, writing, rewriting, starting over again. But the final product is something I'm very proud of. I'm getting great reviews on Amazon.com. Hopefully y'all got the book today. Y'all rate great reviews as well. It's pretty much how the book came to be. My next book will be a complete suspense thriller. It's going to be any hustling. The common thread I'm going to put in all my books, I want them all based in Cleveland. So the people here, as you read the book, you will relate to the streets, to Kinsman, Harbor, and Miles, relate to East Cleveland radio station 107.9. The things that people interact with, my people will understand, and it'll be familiar. Because most urban novels are based in New York, Atlanta, California, New Jersey, Baltimore. And when we read those books, we don't know these places. We don't know the streets. You might visit them, but we haven't lived. And this is something I really want to bring to Cleveland. You can read an urban novel to have the novels here. We can say, I've been there, or the characters are so familiar, I know this person. Or I know somebody that lives on the street. I know somebody that went to that school. Or I went to that school. I used to live on that street. So that's what I really want to bring to the literary world. So I want to touch every genre. I got a wild imagination. My mind is always going. So I'm going to go from urban fiction to suspense, romance, novel, and probably into horror. So I want to touch every base so I can, it's a challenge, to write the same thing over and over. I could have did a part 2 to We Got Issues. A lot of people asked for it. They really liked it. It was informational. It was really captivating. But I didn't want to do the same thing again. Even though I'm getting great reviews on Bait and Switch, when I do it again, I'm going to do something totally different. Still has capture. That's what I have right now. So right now, anybody got any questions or thoughts, now's the time.
I got a question. Like, what out of the two books, which one was more fun to write?
Actually, I would say it's the current bait and switch.
Why's that?
Because the first book I actually created from, I was doing interviews about relationships. So I talked to people who have been married, divorced, living together, people who have never been married, to get their viewpoints on relationships. And I put those things together and try to come up with a common thread. Whereas with bait and switch, it was completely out of my imagination. I had to develop characters, I had to develop a plot, I had to create a theme that ran through the book. So it was nothing for me to go on, but just my own thoughts, my own imagination going wild and trying to keep something consistent through the whole story and make sure all the characters stay the same and do what they're supposed to do and only say what they're supposed to say. So bait and switch was definitely more of a challenge, and it kept my attention to write it. Anybody else?
Was there any, I haven't had a chance to read it just yet, is there any people in there, characters-wise, that are real inspirations from real people or something like that, or are they completely made up?
Every character is completely made up.
Okay.
But the thing with fiction is everything has a base in reality.
Right.
So if you read it, you're going to know some of the characters because they're real people.
Right.
They're people that actually do the things that they've done, but there is no actual person that I base.
Okay, that's what I mean, yeah.
Like I said, this person, I'm going to just change the name and no.
I ain't know if I can read this book and be like, this gotta be Uncle Doc, man.
He might be in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's not what it was based on. It was definitely based on complete fiction, and I created every character. From my outline, I created the characters and the personality.
Nice.
So this character, somebody who's crackhead, this is the sad girl, this is his best friend, the hustler, blah blah blah.
Right.
That's how that took place.
Another one.
What motivates you to really get a jump start on writing versus
The motivation was the challenge to do it. The challenge to do it was the biggest motivation to try to create something for someone else to find entertaining. Because when you're writing, you're not just writing for yourself. You're writing for different personalities, and different backgrounds, and different viewpoints. So you have to have something that everybody can relate to. So it's motivating when I write something. I have to think for a bunch of different people. Like, how would they view this? What would they take away from it? So it's a great motivation, and the payback is when I get feedback, people tell me about the characters that they love or the characters that they hate. It's like phenomenal, because it's like I achieved it. Like, even if someone say I didn't like it, it's an emotion. I wrote something that caused you to have an emotion. Right. When that emotion wasn't there, I created it. You know what I mean? I created this character, now you feel a certain way about somebody that really don't exist. I mean, it's like, it sounds simple, but it's amazing. Like,
that makes sense.
I can sit and write down, this person did blah, 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 this person did da, 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 and you be like, I can't stand her. Right. She don't really exist, except on paper, but you feel a certain way. So that's the motivation to make somebody feel a certain way about these 5 or 6 characters, feel sympathy for this person, to dislike this person, wonder, what is on this guy's mind? What will make somebody do something? It's definitely a motivation. You know who it's supposed to be.
Okay, out of the 3 times that you had to rewrite this book, was any of it like remembering someone, or you feel like it was better the last time you actually that you didn't lose it, from the first time that you sat down and wrote?
I think out of the frustration, it was probably better. And some of it I remember, all I know is how I wanted it to end. So writing into it was writing into it. But, when you lose and you try to go back, okay, what did he say, what did he do? Then you have to, forget it, I can't remember every inch detail. So when I went back, I definitely I had a vision on my own writing, like I had to make it good, and then I got now my whole mind is thinking, make it good and save it to this jump drive, email it to yourself, do it,
Right.
you know, because I don't want to do this again.
Right.
I want to start over again. So I think it was the final draft when I finally had to write it over again. I think it was better. That's what the reviews say. It was great. Of course, they didn't read the first part. But the ending, that's all that matters.
Right.
What was your favorite chapter to write?
You know what?
Is it?
My favorite chapter. You know what? I'm gonna. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, my favorite chapter is the actual, I'm trying to say it without giving, bait and switch. It's the actual, it's on page 103.
Yeah.
That's the actual con that happens. The actual bank robbery in Cleveland, and me and Maggie, we had to actually drive through downtown to make sure the turns was right. Go down East Ninth, make
Nice.
it right, to then pull up to the bank, to this.
Feel like
So,
set it off.
yeah, we was really, there's a bank robbery to take place, and we actually had to drive a route from the Mirage downtown all the way to East Ninth, the Superior, to the bank. And I wanted everything to be exact. So
Right.
for me, you know, some of the story is just a story, but the landmarks and things are exactly, you know,
Precise.
So when people read it from Cleveland, they're gonna be like, that's how you get there.
That's
Right.
right. What was your thought process of picking these certain areas, and picking the bank that you chose?
Well, I wanted to get something that was common and everybody knew. You know, in Cleveland, the Key Bank building is like one of the most popular banks.
Right.
Of course, I had, because of legal reasons, I had to change it to something else.
Really?
Right, because I can't
That's
have
their right.
a bank robbery at Key Bank in a book. So if somebody robs Key Bank, they're gonna be like, yeah, I mean, it just, you know, it don't go over well with the government. Like, oh, you planning to rob us, or you did rob us, you know what I mean? So, that, to make it real, to make it something people could grasp, and actually, if you read the book, it'll give you instructions from the garage down in the flats all the way to the bank and the left and turn. So that made the actual bank robbery, the escape, and everything that took
Come to
place
life.
during the actual bait and switch is actually real. The places,
Right.
everything that they do, you could actually go, don't do it.
Don't give me any ideas, man.
Don't try this at home. It was actually the best because I had to do research. It wasn't just like I created a story. I had to look at maps. I had to make sure that, you know, this was a stoplight and a stop sign and wasn't a one-way street.
Right.
So it was actually a challenge to me again to create and make it happen. And then inside the chapter there's some twists and turns, and this is the only one of the chapters where every character is interacting. Every character in the book is in this particular chapter, whereas other chapters in the book, you have these two characters interacting, these three, da 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 da. So in Bait and Switch, everybody's there. This is the big grand finale.
That was my next question.
Bait and Switch is a street term. It's a street term for a con. Which means I show you one thing, and when you come to get it, it's something else.
Right.
So you're thinking you're getting one thing, and that's what I do to the reader. You're thinking you're reading one thing, but in the end, it's something totally different. It's something you wouldn't even, like, I didn't even know I was reading that. I thought I was reading about this.
Right.
And in the end, you come out, you read about something totally different, and it's, you know, it's definitely a book that when you finish reading it, you gotta go back and read it again, because then it'll make sense, like, oh, no, that's why he did this, and
Right.
such and such did that, and da 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 da. The whole time I thought they was doing blah 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 blah. Hey, you. Tito. But yeah, Bait and Switch was the best. It's probably my favorite chapter. Now there's one of my favorite characters is a guy named Jaheem. Jaheem is a killer. He's not a hustler in the sense of he don't sell drugs, he don't chase women, he don't try to ride around in a fancy car. All he do is kill. That's what he do. So if you want somebody dead, you're not playing. I mean, like, you want somebody dead for real. Like, I want this person to no longer live. If you call him, it's going to happen.
Oh boy.
It's it's going down. And he don't have no qualms about it. He don't problem. You know what? While I'm speaking on, let me give y'all an excerpt on Jaheim. This is out of a chapter called Checkmate. Checkmate. On page 130, all the way down where it says as C note. It says as C note Babe, he started to develop a confidence about himself that he never had before. I'm done with this second in command vice president shit. I'm about to run this motherfucking shit. Tito said out loud as he stepped out of the shower, dripping wet. He opened the door of the bathroom to let the steam out. Staring directly in his eyes was a chrome-plated, pearl-handled, blade silencer. Tito's eyes moved big as two satellite dishes, holding the pistol with Jaheim. Totally confused, Tito thought Jaheim wanted money from the bank robbery. We ain't get shit because your ass left us hanging. Tito yelled as he stood, naked, vulnerable in the bathroom. Jaheim did not respond. Staring keenly with murderous intention, Jaheim aimed a large caliber weapon at Tito's heart. With one smooth pull of the trigger, Tito's final thought came to a screeching halt.
Oh, Lord. I was like, I didn't even know. Look, and I ain't even know it.
Cut it off. Right. They cut it off, back off, take the coat off. I'm serious.
No, it really is.
Yeah, my stuff back on. Thanks, man. You know, that is something I'm pursuing. I would like for it. Well, it's going. We won't speak it into existence. This will be coming with it. It will be shot in Cleveland. So, you know, we can bring something up I like too. For those who don't know, I do work in a correctional facility. And this was something that I wanted to bring to light. So it was a picture that was not hard for me to paint. A lot of people, you know, you see stuff on TV, and TV can't give you real justice as to what you see. It's not enough time, or you got to cut away. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna read an excerpt from a chapter called "Shady Business," "Dirty Business," I believe. Dirty business. The lighting is horrible. It's on page 53.
Thank you very much.
This was my attempt to bring jail to life for readers, so they can see what actually goes on, so they can get an in-depth feel of what one of the characters was going through when he went to a correctional institution. Now, to catch you up, this particular character had a visit, and his visit is over. So the next chapter is at the end of his visit, he's going to strip search. Dirty Business, page 53. It says, Dirty walked towards the door marked inmates only. All the visitors began to leave the room. KD looked back at Dirty, who was now in a single file line, waiting his turn to enter the strip search room. Dirty entered the room, hearing the guards barking orders. Take off his shirt, pants, underwear, socks, and lay them on the table. He stood there with three other inmates totally naked as the day they were born. He felt completely humiliated and degraded as a member. Open your mouth and lift your tongue, the officer instructed them. Now lift up your feet and wiggle your toes. They all did just as they were told. You on the end, the guard spoke to the long-haired white boy. Shake out your hair. The boy did it like a dog coming out of the rain. The officer got a little laugh out of that. All right, lift your nut sacks. One of the inmates sighed as if the shit was getting on his nerves. Is there a problem, fuckface? Asked the large officer who stepped right in the face of the inmate and made the noise. The officer was huge, maybe 6'5", weighed 350 pounds, and he wasn't fat at all. The inmate dropped his head and shook his head no, trying not to make eye contact. Now, the grand finale, all you girls and boys been waiting for. The officer said with a wicked grin, turn around, spread your ass cheeks, and cough 3 times. Dirty and the white boy did just that. The same inmate that made the sighing noise just stood there. The officer barked again, but this time he said, this is a direct order. The inmate just stood there looking at the wall behind the officer. What's your malfunction, son? I'm not doing that faggot ass shit. Inmate tried to say. Before he can get the whole sentence out of his mouth, the officer whacked him in the stomach for time. Inmate doubled over instantly from the pain. Come again, fuckface, the officer said to the inmate. Just do what he says so we can get back to the dorm. The long-haired white boy whispered to the inmate now on the floor. Mind your fucking business, Goldilocks. Before I give you a piece of the cake he just got. The officer screamed at the white boy. Dirty just stood there, heart racing, not knowing what would happen next. The inmate slowly got up off the floor, spread his cheeks, coughed 3 times. That's a good girl, officer. Next time you refuse a direct order from me, I'm gonna make you wish your mother was never there. Do you understand me, son? The inmate nodded yes. Now everybody get dressed and get out. As Dirty dressed, he was thinking about the time in his face. 10 years on his shit. I don't know if I can do this as adult. That was just a glimpse of going through script sets. So what I tried to do is make everyone feel, not just see or hear, but actually feel what each inmate felt. The guys observing, the guys moving through it, the viewpoint of the officer, the viewpoint of a guy not knowing what to do next. So, and that's what I try to do throughout the whole book. The whole thing is you get everybody's viewpoint and you get to see how everybody feels. So it's not just a hustle book. People running around shooting, selling drugs, and just random gunplay, random hustling, but a lot of unnecessary cussing, sexual violence. Don't get me wrong, it's all in there, but it's woven in with a phenomenal plot. I'm not saying that because I wrote it, because I was told. So it's woven in there to keep you entertained. I don't know, was that entertaining? Did that hold y'all attention? Yeah, a little bit.
I go now. Ready? Set. Excellent. I'm doing.
Good?
Yeah. Anybody else thoughts? Come on, y'all. Nothing?
Well, what about as a child? Were you like a big reader as a child, or how did you come about with this?
You know what? I was not a reader at all. I was not a reader. I didn't start reading. I mean, I know how to read, but I wasn't the type of person to read a lot of books. Until I was an adult, the first book I ever read in this genre was Iceberg Slim Pimp, The Story of My Life.
Oh, that's what you told me about.
Right. So, I mean, that was the first glimpse in I had a newspaper article in the Call Post last week where I was compared to him. And that was like one of the highlights. It's like being compared to George. I mean, he was the first person to do it. And he's considered the best, the godfather of the urban fiction, and nobody could ever top what he did. And someone said, you know, Robert Beck, he was Iceberg Slim, and Donald Jones, I mean, this guy's here with him. But to answer your question, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't great. I wasn't into reading, and it made me want to do it. You know, I just jumped in, feet first, read some books, and motivated. And, you know, I've always been into writing. You know, everybody wanted to be a rapper, so I went through the want to be a rapper stage, and you know, start writing, you know, stuff like that. And once I got the book to write a book, I wrote the first book on a roundtable discussion. Me and my buddies sitting around talking about our relationship. I'm gonna write a book about it. They all laughed. And it happened. And they was like, oh wow, you did it for real, like, and it was good. So I just got the book. So I enjoy doing it. Pretty much.
How long did it take you to
Yeah.
write this?
I started on about 3 years ago. Honestly, I started about 3 years ago. I lost it 3 times, and actually for a whole year I didn't write none because I was kind of depressed to have to start all over because I was 3/4 of the way done.
Wow.
I was 3/4 of the way going to the ending, and then it was gone. And what people say, oh, why you get depressed? When you write a story over that type of time period, you don't remember everything you wrote. Like even when I got the book back pressed and this, I had to read it. I had to read it for myself because this was started in 2010, 2009. So I can't remember everything I wrote and how it went and da 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 da. So it's a long process, and it seems like, oh, it ain't that big, you should be able, it don't work like that.
So this one was longer. This book was longer because it was fictional versus.
It was longer, and I kept losing it. So, it was longer, I kept losing it, and I didn't touch it for about a year. And then I finally said, okay, let's do it.
Thanks.
You want me to dial? If I get everything.
Put a review on Amazon.com. Because people read. People go to Amazon and see, oh, you know, people like it, whatever it is, and they order. And right now, put in a bid for Barnes & Noble to have my book in their stores. So that happens. Speaking to when that happens, then I'll be able to go national. So this book will be in Barnes & Noble, New York and Atlanta. All those places that we show them, you know, what we have to say. So we make sure. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate y'all's support. And again, write those reviews, and we'll do it again when the certification come out. Nice. See the same face.